So in our last video we have learned how to create a next tweet generator, and I hope that you are coding along with me throughout this course and you have the application state exactly where I have it right now. And if that's not the case, I would suggest you can go back to my GitHub repository and clone the code from there in order to get the exact code state where I am, or you can continue with your coded application that you're working along with me throughout this course. So in this video what we are going to do is we'll be creating a page where user can add instructions or commands, and based on those instructions and commands we'll be generating an image and we'll be showing that image to the user. To do that, we'll be using first field, which would be the input field for user command, and a button in order to send a request from our front end to our backend. And the third component that we'll be needing is the image component in order to show the image to our end user. So to do that, let's first create the page in our Next.js application by going to src pages, and over here we'll be creating a new page over here, and let's call it image generator. We'll add .js extension over here. We will add .js extension over here. Let's create this file. Inside this file, we'll create a React functional component. So let's create it first. Let's fix the component name first. Let's click on save. Also, if you remember in our last video lecture, we created next tweet generator by using an input field as well as a generate button, and we dynamically showed the next tweet generated to our user. So similarly we can reuse that UI since we have almost similar functional needs from our previous lecture, and this would also save us a lot of time. So let's do that by going back to our tweet generator, and over here what we can do is we'll simply copy the entire component and we can later on modify this. Let's remove all the content in our return statement. Let's paste it over here. Let's close this for now. So why am I doing this? Why am I not writing it from scratch, and instead of it I am using it from the previous component that I have written? I can also create a component where I can show the heading as well as input text area, button as well as the next dynamic tweet generated into a separate component and reuse it over here again. We are taking this approach in order to learn that at the time of real development, you might sometimes need this approach in order to create new things at a faster pace, as well as we learn how to separate the UI components into individual modules or components later on once we have our UI ready. So let's do that now. First of all, let's change the text from previous tweet as well as next tweet generated to our current text that we will be receiving from the user, as well as the image URL that we will be receiving from our API response. So first of all, instead of previous tweet, we will be having the user command. So let's change it to user command. Keep in mind that you should use camel casing over here. Similarly, instead of next tweet, we will be having the generated image URL. So let's change it to image URL. It would be empty by default, similarly for the command as well. And instead of setting the previous tweet, we will be setting the user command. So let's change this in input change handler. Similarly over here in our on submit handler, instead of passing the previous tweet, we will be passing the user command. So let's do that as well. Remove the previous tweet. We will be sending user command to our API request. Also, instead of using tweet generator API, we will be using image generator API. So let's change it from tweet generator to image generator. Also, we will send a response from our backend in such a way that we will receive response.data.image URL. Image URL will be the property which we will set in our state. So let's do that as well. Instead of setting next tweet, we now have set image URL. So let's set it over here. Also, we will set the user command to null and click on save. Similarly over here, instead of enter previous tweet, we will write enter command to generate image. Click on save. Also, we will change the ID for text area from current tweet to user command. Also copy this and use it inside our HTML4. Click on save. Now going back down, we don't have next tweet. Instead of next tweet, we will have image URL. So we will check if there is an image URL. We will also remove this h3 header from next tweet generated by AI to image generated by AI. And instead of showing the paragraph, we'll be using an image over here. So let's delete that, and over here we will write an image element which would be self-closing, and we will write the src is equals to our image URL which is generated by our AI. We'll also write the placeholder as image generated by AI, so let's write generated by AI. Let's click on save. So with this, our UI is almost ready. Also, let's import use state from React. Also, we can still not access our image generated page directly through the navigation bar. So let's add it over to our header. By going back to our header, let's copy one of the link and paste it over here and write image generator over here. Let's change the URL to image generator. Let's fix the typo also in our link and click on save. Close this. Let's start our server. Let's get back to our AI tools. Also, we have this previous tweet over here as a value for our text area. Instead of that, we will use user command. So let's paste it over here. Click on save. And now if we get back to our application, you can see it's up and running, and you can see it works fine like it worked before. Let's check our image generator. So our image generator looks fine. It has this string over here which we have changed. Also, let's see what happens if we write our instruction over here and click on generate. You can see that it says that Axios is not imported. Let's import the Axios as well. Let's import Axios from Axios. So let's write an instruction and click on generate. It should give us a 404 error since we don't have an API right now. Also, it would be great if we could disable our generate button until the user enters command over here. So let's do that as well. So over here where we have our generate button, we will write disabled if we don't have a user command. Also, we can write if the user command string is less than 10 character. In that case, we won't have our generate button enabled. Let's save this. Also, it would be an or instead of and. Sorry about that. Let's save this. And now if we get back to our application and refresh this, let's enter a command. So you can see until we entered a complete sentence with at least 10 characters, this string was not complete. Also, our generate button did not get activated. Let's confirm that over here once again. So you can see until we had at least 10 characters, this string was not complete. So that's a good thing to start with. Also, we should do the same in our tweet generator over here. So let's do that as well. Inside our tweet generator, we have our button. We'll add disabled if the previous tweet is not there, or if our previous tweet dot length is less than 10. In that case, we won't allow user to generate the next tweet. So let's save this, and on our UI it works fine. Our generate button is disabled until we enter at least 10 characters. So let's now write the API to generate the image. So see you in the next lecture guys. Bye.